Welcome everyone to the School Leadership and Clean Energy Network meeting. I'm Tish Tablan, Senior Program Director of the Electrifier Schools program at Generation 180. I'm excited to bring you all together today. And as a reminder, this meeting is exclusively for current staff at K-12 schools around the country who want to champion clean energy at their schools. During our SLICE meetings, the format will be a mix of both presentation and discussion. So today, I'll provide you a recap of the benefits of the SLICE network, and then Greg Lebecci, Generation 180's new energy advisor, will share about his experience as the Energy and Sustainability Manager at Salt Lake City School District. Next, our Pennsylvania Director, Shannon Crooker, will provide an update on the two federal clean energy grant programs for schools and the Clean Electricity Investment Tax Credit, better known as the ITC. I know that this is the part everyone is looking forward to hearing more about. Then we will switch to breakout group discussions. We will put you in two groups based on the topics you told us in your registration that you wanted to learn more about. You will have a chance to share with us and your peers about your challenges, and we can work together to help you overcome them. And as Greg will talk more about later, participating in these opportunities to connect with each other is how you can gain the most out of this network. We will be sharing the recording of these presentations after the meeting today, but we will not record the discussion groups. Generation 180 is a national nonprofit organization working to inspire and equip people to take action to advance clean energy in their homes and communities. Through our programs, Generation 180 engages a variety of groups from educational leaders like yourselves to EV owners to comedians and cultural influencers. I lead our National Electrifier Schools program, and I founded this program at Generation 180 in 2017, and we began by focusing on solar energy. We still research and track the adoption of solar energy and battery storage by K-12 schools. We uplift success stories and shared pathways that other schools can follow. We provide resources to help schools implement clean energy projects, including solar and storage feasibility assessments, and we offer direct support from our team. This network is also one of the most important resources that we have developed. Our School Leadership in Clean Energy, or SLICE network, currently has about 85 members across 20 states. We are engaging current K-12 school leaders in a range of roles, including district administration of facilities, transportation, sustainability, and operations. Our members also include school board members, superintendents, teachers, and other staff. We want to provide support to anyone in an official school role who wants to champion clean energy at their schools, whether you are on your way to net zero energy or just getting started. There is no cost to you to join and get involved. Since some of you are joining for the first time, I'll go ahead and provide an overview of the benefits of being involved with this network and how to get engaged. Generation 180 tries to provide inspiration and models for success for schools to switch to clean energy. And we do that by showcasing the successes of our network members and by elevating them on a national stage. We've helped our members get featured in earned media stories in the New York Times, CBS News, Associated Press, NPR, the Weather Channel, Education Week, and more. We will invite members to participate in panels that we put together for national and regional conferences, such as the AASA National Conference on Education, the K-12 Facilities Forum, and the Green Schools Conference. We will also write our own case studies for our blog and newsletter or develop original videos. One of our members from Texas told me how the positive media story that we helped secure in their local news channel helped the school board members see how Their solar energy generation can be a point of pride for the school district. And that positive recognition inspired the school board to deepen its public commitment to clean energy and to support the initiatives for which this sustainability director was trying to get approval. So please communicate with us. Let us know when you have a win that we can celebrate. We will find ways to uplift and amplify your clean energy successes. Please also share your clean energy challenges with us. Our role is to help you identify the resources and support that you need to overcome your hurdles and challenges. Generation 180 is able to provide solar feasibility assessments to help you get started so you can narrow down which sites may be preferable or gain some preliminary numbers that you can provide to your board to get buy-in to move forward. We also recently brought on board our new energy advisor, Greg Lebecci, to be a resource for our network. He will be sharing his experience as an energy manager with you, and he is available to help you think about energy efficiency and energy management strategies. Our team can also help connect you with partners and other resources that can be useful to you. Of course, the best resource could be a peer in this network who has already found a solution to your problem. So we encourage you to reach out to each other. Once you're in the network, you will be added to a private Google group just for Slice Network members. If you have a question that you want to ask the entire network, you can send an email to slice-network@generation180.org. If you have a Google account with your work email address, you can log in at groups.google.com to see the full member list, which currently only displays the email addresses. Network members will also be added to a shared Google Drive. In the Google Drive folder, you will find shared resources, including a contact list with the current members. And I recommend using this list if you want to identify a particular member to contact, or if you just want to search for another member in your state or region. So after this meeting, I will send out a reminder email to the group on how to find the Google Drive folder and the contact list. If you are not yet a member, or if you know a colleague who could benefit from joining the network, you can simply go to our website and register. Once you navigate to the School Leadership in Clean Energy page, you will find a button to click that says Join the Slice Network. You'll be taken to a form that just asks for your contact information, your clean energy experience, and what clean energy support you still need. We do like to showcase our Slice members on our website, and if you're willing to be featured, we'll also ask you to provide a headshot photo and a short bio. So please feel free to contact me directly if you have any questions about being part of the Slice network. I will now hand it over to Generation 180's new energy advisor, Greg Lebecci. He is available as a free resource to our network. Greg was also a Slice member himself when he was the Energy and Sustainability Manager at Salt Lake City School District. And as you can see from this slide, Greg has a long list of accomplishments. He made Salt Lake City School District a true leader in clean energy. He retired from the school district at the end of 2024, and as you will see in a moment, he still has so much passion and energy to share with you. Over to you, Greg.
I'm happy to see some familiar names and faces on this call. Hope you're all doing well and working through these turbulent times caused by some government uncertainty, let's call it. And now's probably a time when we need each other more than ever. During my 2 decades involved with K-12 sustainability work, I always found peer-to-peer networking to be motivating and beneficial as I advance toward my goals. I believe the Slice network will continue to facilitate meaningful connections that will help us all keep moving in the right direction. While I'm enjoying my newfound freedom as a retired school district employee, I am excited about working with Gen 80 and the Slice network. helping to grow participation, as well as sharing my experiences and trials and tribulations. I'm also available to meet one-on-one with any school district, no matter where they are in the process of progressing toward sustainability-related goals. The real magic comes from the peer-to-peer interaction. And for example, it was during a Slice networking call when I was introduced to Leanne Kittle from Denver Public School District. She was beginning a third phase with an ESCO, that's an energy service company, where they were implementing energy saving measures and solar arrays. So Leanne shared her experience and helped me navigate the legal and practical aspects of this complicated process. She also gave me encouragement and strategic advice that helped me ultimately hire an ESCO, and we implemented a successful $29.5 million guaranteed energy saving performance contract. I'd also like to send a shout out to Desmond Ho, who's on this call. He and his Santa Barbara school district are one of the only districts that are involved in implementing a microgrid, or at least were at the time. And we were also investigating that at Salt Lake, and he was very helpful and willing to speak with me. So again, the value and benefit of this Slice network. I'm glad to have you on the call, Desmond. So this is what motivates me to want to work with Gen 180 and grow this Slice network. Collectively, people like you throughout the country are doing this important work, and we should all be sharing and benefiting from our experiences. Please consider others who are not yet in the Slice network. While it'd be great if you reached out to them, I'm also agreeable to do that if you'd be willing to share their contact information. I know many of you are making great slides and have achieved some awesome milestones. And Gen 180 is here to help leverage these achievements by having us all share in these success stories and connect with those who are working on similar projects. Tish asked me to share some of my personal stories, so I'll attempt to do that in the next few minutes. So while I've been at it for nearly 20 years, the meaningful progress came only during the last few. There were many who didn't think I'd stick around, coming from the private sector as a marketing sales executive with all the perks that come with that. Who would think I'd tolerate the restrictions? Oh, and I have a visitor crossing my desk right now, so sorry about that. There again were many who didn't think I'd stick around, with the strict policies and in the public sector, but I proved them all wrong and stuck it out. So lesson number one: patience and tenacity are a requirement if you're introducing change and going against the norm. While the early years were focused primarily on recycling and behavior change, my big break came only a few years ago when there was finally a change in the administration at the district. A new business administrator, or bean counter, as I refer to him, came into power, and he was much more open to progressive ideas and actually understood what life cycle cost analysis was. I must say I got lucky, and the definition I like about luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Well, I was prepared, and the opportunity presented itself at a Center for Green Schools conference. That's where I met Lisa Hoyos from Climate Parents, who, together with our very own Tish, co-authored a step-by-step toolkit. And this was designed to help progressive high school students create a plan to pitch a sustainability resolution to their school board. I proceeded to introduce the toolkit and Lisa Hoyos to the 3 high school green teams, and they took it from there. This group of sustainably minded students were looking for something to sink their teeth into, and wanted to make a difference at the district and the world. Lisa actually flew out from California on a number of occasions, meeting with the students at the local Sierra Club offices. My role in all this was simply making the connection and providing the district-wide energy and water consumption data and showing up to an occasional meeting. Amazingly, 10 months later, during a COVID-related virtual school board meeting, they presented their compelling facts and research and obtained a unanimous vote to approve a sustainability resolution calling for 100% district electricity to come from renewable sources by 2030 and attain carbon neutrality at all district energy use by 2040. Very aggressive, very bold goals, but the district school board agreed and signed off. The resolution also called for the creation of a committee and an action plan, which was to be presented to the school board 1 year later. The action plan ultimately outlined a roadmap to attain these goals. It became apparent that this was not going to be cheap, nor could meaningful progress be made using in-house resources only. So we floated an RFQ and interviewed 3 ESCO companies, and again with help from other school districts, we ultimately selected one, and we went on and had them conduct an energy audit to determine what we had in our electricity, where we were using our electricity, and they would also let us know what they believed we could do to reduce that energy. So they evaluated multiple school rooftops as well, and so they could estimate what potential production from solar arrays would be. This process resulted in a district contracting with McKinstry, well-known ESCO in our area, and we signed a 5-year guaranteed energy saving performance contract. And they presented multiple options ranging in cost from $10 to $35 million. To my amazement, the administration agreed to a $29.5 million cluster of measures that included LED retrofitting 34 schools, implementing HVAC improvements, 1.8 megawatt of solar spread out over 6 school rooftops. And the cherry on top was they agreed to allow them to electrify 2 of our elementary schools, where the heating components were converted from traditional gas-fired boilers to air source heat pumps. You're probably wondering how we managed to pay for all this. Through my research again and networking with other school districts, I learned of a clever mechanism called a tax-exempt lease purchasing process. And this basically is a special lease arrangement with a bank where they review the proposed projects and consider the third-party guarantee of the savings. The savings are then used to pay off the loan over a set number of years. In our case, we chose a 20-year horizon, and this avoided any need for capital dollars, keeping the payments for these capital projects on the operational side of the budget, essentially a budget-neutral program. I felt like I'd finally arrived. So that really is the highlight of my career. And it took luck, patience, and tenacity to achieve ultimately more than 30% reduction in the district's carbon footprint. Phase 2 was recently completed, adding another 2 megawatts of solar and additional HVAC improvements. This is projected to reduce the footprint by another 5 to 6%. We were very happy to receive a check from the utility that offset some of the cost of our LED upgrade. That was a $1.2 million check being enjoyed by the school board at a school board meeting. And we were also one of the first school districts in the country to receive a direct payment from the IRS for $1.3 million. So these monies, while might be not available in the short term, I have a feeling they'll come back. But certainly, the local utilities are still actively engaged, and that's all I have on that. And I want to thank you for all you do. And please do not hesitate to reach out to me for some one-on-one discussion, regardless of where you are along the path. And if I can't help, I just might know someone who can.
Good afternoon. It's exciting to see everyone here today. I'm Shannon Crooker. I'm the Pennsylvania Director at Generation 180. I'm going to provide an update on everything that's going on at the federal level when it comes to grants and the clean electricity tax credits. We'll discuss what this means for your schools, maybe how you can prepare and start thinking about the future. We just want to make sure that you are equipped to make an informed decision that's best for you and your school. And of course, we want you to have all the information available at your fingertips. So if you have any questions, be sure to reach out to us and we can guide you through the process. So let's start with the grants. The Renew America Schools program was a phenomenal program that allocated over $500 million through the bipartisan infrastructure law. The first round in 2022 to 2023, 178 million were awarded to about 24 or 25 schools across the country. If your funds were not obligated or dispersed by January 28th, it's a good chance that they were frozen and likely to be eliminated. From what we've heard, most of the awardees have been able to utilize these funds before that deadline. But of course, we did not get to talk to everyone. Then when you look at 2024, the second round, there was 180 million funds that were awarded. And there was a phased process for these projects. So some of them may have been received their first phase of funds. And then some schools may have been in this really sticky predicament where they couldn't get everything signed by January 28th of this year. And the rest of the funds were completely eliminated or frozen, and there still may be some uncertainty. I know this caused quite a bit of a fiasco for some schools earlier this year, and some unfortunately will not be receiving the implementation money because it was phased in 2 phases, potentially 3, with the initial phase being planning and then moving on to phase 2 with more deeper dive and implementation. We were excited that we were going to start this year with the third round, where we were expecting $90 million to be distributed across schools. Unfortunately, shortly after the inauguration, we saw the site was taken down, and the April 3rd deadline that we were preparing for was no longer available. It is unclear if this project or if this money will come back. It's highly doubtful that it will, but we will most definitely stay on top of it and let any schools know if it comes out again. The EPA's Clean Bus program, I'm sure some of you are very familiar with this. This is an excellent program, again, with $5 billion allocated through the bipartisan infrastructure law. Over half of that has been awarded to 1,200 school districts. There was a round with applications turned in at the very beginning of this year. And of course, shortly thereafter inauguration, it just kind of completely disappeared. So we'll likely not see that funding come through, at least for the rebate round. Hopefully states will step up and fill in where the federal government is dropping the ball. So without further ado, let's talk about the federal clean electricity tax credits, which were uncapped. They were non-competitive, so everyone was eligible for this. And this is just a snapshot. We'll go into more detail, but the big thing to know is that elective pay is still intact. It's been preserved. So that one-time cash reimbursement, anywhere from 30 to 70% of your total project cost, depending on what bonus adders you qualified for, you can still get them. But things are expiring and shifting underneath our feet on a regular basis. So you'll see solar has 2 important years that we need to talk about. Energy storage is still available. Ground source heat pump wasn't touched at all, so that's great. And then as you can see, the school buses expired this year, just like any of the electric vehicles, such as light duty, personal vehicles, and heavy duty, which is unfortunate. But fortunately, they gave us some wiggle room and some time to get the infrastructure in place for our new electric school buses and vehicles. So if you have not started your infrastructure project, you want to get that started so that you can meet this June 30th deadline. But there's also a few other things you'll want to stay in the know of, which I will talk about in just a moment. So let's start with solar. This is section 48E, the Clean Electricity Investment Credit. And this is where you can get essentially 30% of your project costs and up to 70%. So it's going to be eliminated for projects that start construction or are placed in service after 2027. If you start construction by July 4th of next year, you have until the end of 2030 to place the project in service, which is great. Sometimes these projects take a while to develop and get built, especially if they're larger or if they're ground arrays and they have permitting that needs to be taken into consideration, as well as utility interconnection, because sometimes that can hold a project up. Otherwise, if a project commences construction after July 4th next year, you have to have your project in place by December 31, 2027. That would be achievable for smaller projects, but as we know, if you haven't started thinking about your project to go through the approval project at the school level or district level, it can be a challenge in and of itself. And then if you have utility hurdles to jump through, you're going to have to plan ahead for that. So I would say start talking to your board now and start talking to your utility if you're not able to commence construction before July 4th next year. And then there's this new provision, what we call FEOC, Federal Entities of Concern, that is going to take place starting January 1st of next year. We'll talk about those provisions on another slide, but just so you know, you'll have to be much more diligent in sourcing materials and supplier vendor contracts moving forward after the end of this year. Like I said before, ground source heat pumps, they were not touched at all, which is great. So this project is still available to January 1st, 2035, which is excellent because these can take a while and there are no FEOC restrictions. There are prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements depending on the size of the project and same as domestic content. So if this is something you're interested in, we can surely talk offline on how you can potentially meet these. And otherwise, I think if it's something, it's a great opportunity with the tax credit, the life cycle analysis, and the savings with geothermal have been incredibly beneficial for schools. So it is worth looking at if it's something you can do in your region. Let's look at the energy storage also in 48E. So there's really been no changes. Just be aware if there's something that you've been looking at, it will start to step down and phase out in 2033. So starting in 2034, 75% of the total project will be reimbursed and then 50% in 2035. Battery storage has to meet the FEOC restrictions, which is going to be challenging. But luckily, in the last year or two, we've had a few domestic manufacturers come online, especially in Pittsburgh. I don't want to say out west in California, there may be a handful, but battery storage is an excellent tool for decreasing your demand charges as well as resiliency. And if you already have solar and it's something you were thinking about, I would behoove you or encourage you to go ahead and start looking at it. Then for the transportation, the clean vehicles, we already said expired earlier this year. The infrastructure, we said we have until June 30th, but you also need to make sure that your infrastructure is located in a low income or non-urban census tract. So a lot of suburban schools still may qualify. Make sure you're either talking to your vendor or you can follow up with us and we can help you figure out if this is something that your school would be able to meet. And then 179B, this is a commercial energy efficiency building deduction. That's always been a really great tool used by some savvy engineers and architects who are able to negotiate a better price for the school to implement these projects for a trade and a tax deduction for them since they have the tax liability. It's a little complicated, but I think if you have used this tool before, or if your engineer and architect are talking to you about this, you want to make sure that you commence construction before July 1 of 2026. So the prohibited foreign entities and foreign entities of concern is really one of the things that's going to be the most challenging for us to meet. Luckily, from a materials perspective, a lot of solar installers and vendors are doing what they can, and they think it's possible, but then we also need to look at this entity level test. So what countries are we concerned of when we're talking about these prohibited foreign entities? It's China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. And I think most of us here know that a lot of our goods come from China. Of course, solar is the one that's always been targeted the most. Everything else seems to be fine, other than the tariff situation. But one of the interesting things you would think, and everyone would, is I'm a school district located in the United States. Obviously, we're not controlled by a foreign entity. And yes, that is true because your board members are constituents and residents of your communities. And they're the ones who are voting and have control. And it seems simple enough. But if your outstanding debt, more than 50% of your outstanding debt is issued by lenders from these 4 countries, what we're calling FIOC, you may be considered a prohibited foreign entity, which sounds bizarre. Yes, I agree. This is going to start taking effect starting if you're on the fiscal year, like most schools, from July 1st of this year to June 30th. It is going to start taking place July 1st of 2026. The way that the municipal bond market works, it's very opaque, so it's unclear, but we're anticipating guidance by the end of the year. With this federal shutdown, it's unclear if we're going to have that information. And there are groups that are working to try to make sure that municipal bonds, especially schools and units of government, are exempt from this. It's not a guarantee. And we know that it's been a crazy year and so many different things that we thought were normal are guaranteed have been completely stripped away from us. So we will have to stay tuned for guidance and we'll see if it comes out by the end of this year. But I think with the federal government shutdown, it's likely to be early next year, hopefully. Then the materials assistance test. So they have limits on the percentage of project cost and where those components can come from. So where your materials are sourced from. You need to work with your project developer and make sure your contracts and supply chains are certified that the materials meet the percentage threshold. It cannot be mined, produced, or manufactured. And it starts smaller. So it steadily increases year over year, with this first year being the least prohibited or the easiest to meet. A lot of installers and developers who are larger, they are stockpiling these materials so they can meet this. You still need to have a contract signed by the end of the year, which we're going to talk about safe harbor if you want to make sure that you are able to meet this, because this is going to take place starting January 1st, 2026. So something to really be aware of if you already have projects in the works. If you can sign something by the end of this year and pay for it, that's when you want to start. There's also what they're calling the payments test and recapture. So your credits can be taken away or completely disapproved or not allowed if you make a payment to one of these prohibited foreign entities, and that gives them effective control. So you want to make sure you know what's going on in your operation and maintenance contracts. You want to make sure if it's a PPA or lease, that they are not prohibited foreign entities, to make sure that you cover this. And this is in effect right now. This started for January 1 of this year. So this gives the federal government the ability to claw back that reimbursement. So be extra careful and make sure that all your contracts state that you are meeting these FEOC provisions, and that if for whatever reason you don't, or your vendor doesn't, they're on the hook, so that there is less risk for you as a school district. So safe harbor. So how can you protect yourself from some of these? If your project is less than 1.5 megawatts AC, all you have to do is incur at least 5% of the total project costs. I would build in a prep buffer, maybe 7%, just to be on the safe side in case unforeseen costs come up or something increases in cost. And you can do this by the end of the year. If you can get the materials on site, that's even better, but you don't have to prove that. You just need to have 5% of the total project costs covered by the end of the year. If your project is larger than 1.5 megawatts, you need to make sure that you have started physical work. So of course you would have paid something down to get this project started. So on-site activities include site clearing, excavation, installing the racking or mounting equipment. Off-site work would apply for unique situations where you may have a canopy or parking carport that needs to make sure that the steel is customized and designed to your project specifications. So you can do that, and the off-site manufacturing work would count for this requirement. So if you can do that by the end of the year, go for it. I know it's very challenging. Hopefully you're already in signed contracts and the ball is rolling if you have been thinking about solar for a while. So what can you do? I think it's important to see what is on your capital improvement list. What energy projects do you have in the works? Are you replacing HVAC soon? And is geothermal a good option for you? Especially, it's worth looking at the life cycle analysis to see if this is going to help you save more money with the ITC. And then what about battery storage? If you already have solar, this might be a great opportunity to make your facility more resilient and become a designated emergency shelter if possible. And not only that, when your solar is producing and you're using your battery, you can reduce your demand charges. So it's great for peak demand shaving. It goes without saying, no matter what, you want to loop in your legal and finance teams early, especially if you're reviewing contracts right now and you want to make sure you're meeting some of these requirements. Go through everything with a fine-tooth comb and put in language that will reduce your risk when it comes to the FEOC materials. And then if you could start your projects by mid-2026, make sure that you get those supply chain transparency certificates. And then if you can start by the end of the year, go for it. I think that's the best bet. But no matter what, I think solar has proven to be an excellent option for schools, whether or not you have these incentives, because it reduces your risk and volatility associated with the global energy market. There's increasing costs throughout the world because of the AI demand. Here in Pennsylvania, we've ran the numbers with the state grants and without the ITC. Of course, it might be challenging to incur the upfront costs, but at the same time, you will still save money and it just may push your simple payback. And of course, we believe that the tides will change and we'll see incentives again. So hunker down, do what you can to get your energy ducks in a row so you're ready for when the next round of incentives are available. And we're here to make sure that you will be ready and you have all the information you need to make an informed decision. If you have any questions, we'll save them to the end, but I think we have some breakout rooms coming up so we can dive deep into some of these technicalities there. Thank you again, and I hope to see you soon.